Welcome back to the Now Morning Show. It's 9 minutes to the hour of 7 o'clock, and before we get into some great exciting sport conversation this morning, it's time to speak about something that is critical, not just to the now, but to the future, our children. Tomorrow is World Children's Day, and this morning we're talking about children's rights everyone should know. Joining us in studio is Rachelle Lamont-Charles, senior attorney, and Analisa Murphy, senior attorney, both from the Children's Authority. Good morning, ladies, and welcome.
Good morning.
And thank you so much for joining us this morning. It's a pleasure to have you on set. There's a lot that we need to break down in a short span of time. I think, if anything, perhaps let's start with the critical understanding of what child's rights are. I'll bring it to both of you, if you would both like to contribute.
I would say children's rights are human rights that have been, in terms of children, have been identified in terms of certain fundamental basics that children are supposed to have, in terms of, irrespective of religion, nationality, race. So these are fundamental human rights.
Understood. And Rachel, just coming off of what Analisa would have shared with us this morning, what specifically defines children's rights? Is this something that's codified?
Yes. Children's rights are defined by international law, as well as the package of legislation that we have in Trinidad and Tobago relating to child protection.
Something that we definitely see thrown around, but we may not have a clear understanding of, would be the United Nations Conventions of the Rights of the Child. Is this something that we adhere to, and could you break it down for us?
Yes, it is one of the main conventions on the rights of the child. It was developed to promote the welfare of children all around the world and to ensure that children have fundamental rights. We have signed the treaty and we do adhere to the articles within the convention.
Now, as Rachel would have mentioned, we've signed this treaty. What are some of these fundamental rights that we now adhere to in Trinidad and Tobago?
So we have certain fundamental rights in terms of non-discrimination, the acting in the best interest and the welfare of the child, and also children having the rights to security, safety, protection. We normally codify this by saying there are 3 Ps: purpose, protection, and participation.
Yeah. Help us to understand, though, because as you mentioned, this is an international convention on human rights. So how are these reflected here in Trinidad and Tobago?
Well, if
Rachelle.
I may, they are reflected in the key pieces of legislation that we have here in Trinidad and Tobago. We sometimes like to refer to it as the package of legislation relating to children. And that would namely be the Children's Authority Act, which establishes the Children's Authority as the agency responsible for child protection in Trinidad and Tobago. We have the Children's Act, which consolidates many offences that can be committed against children, as well as the penalties for those offences. We have the Adoption Act, which also establishes Children's Authority as the agency responsible for adoption in Trinidad and Tobago. And we have the Community Residences, Nurseries and Foster Care Act as well. That relates to the children's homes in Trinidad and Tobago. So the rights of children are reflected in those acts.
So there are a considerable number of acts that the Children's Authority has under their purview. That is for sure. Any other bodies involved when it comes to overseeing and ensuring that everything runs smoothly?
There would be other agencies as well that contribute to child protection in Trinidad and Tobago. It's really an ecosystem of different agencies that work together to ensure that children's rights are protected.
Yeah. So in light of what Rachel would have just shared, that the Children's Authority, along with other agencies, do have, let's say, the oversight on this, how exactly is it done? How do we ensure that everything runs smoothly and we see adherence?
In terms of what the Children's Authority does, we have certain investigative duties and powers, so we encourage members of the public, if they have any concerns, a child protection is used to report it to Children's Authority so we can investigate. This would be in relation to private homes or community residences, so Children's Authority can intervene and investigate and determine what is in the best interest for a particular child.
And do you see this cohesiveness, as you would have mentioned, there are other agencies? Does everybody work together to ensure that we see things are moving forward seamlessly?
Yes, I would say that we do work together. When it is we receive reports, we're able to reach out to other agencies if we need assistance, if there are interventions that need to be done to aid and assist the children and their families, we are able to reach out to other agencies to do so.
Now, one of the things we're discussing, of course, here would be agencies, upholders of the law, such as yourselves as well. But what about the public? How can the public assist in ensuring that child's rights are enforced and protected, Analisa?
I would say in terms of knowing what those rights are, so we encourage persons to go onto Children's Authority's website, do some research, understand what are fundamental rights of the child, and also by being alert, because a lot of times we would see things, we may not be sure. It's always good to call in to our hotline. If you're not sure, speak with someone there so they'll be able to guide and give you the necessary assistance in terms of alleviating those fears if there is a real concern.
Now, as you mentioned that, of course, being aware, we know on the Children's Authority website, we do see the reference to the package particularly, which is clearly quite long to say the least. So hats off to both of you and your entire team for being able to manage that. From where you both sit, let's say in your experience thus far, do you see that we have a keen understanding in the general population of what children's rights are and what they're entitled to? Analisa?
I would say yes. A lot of times our hotline receives phone calls in terms of members of the public. Sometimes they would stop us on the street right outside the Children's Authority office and they would ask us questions. So I think there is an increased level of being alert, but we always say that child protection is everyone's business.
Yeah.
So at this point in time, we would want to reiterate that if you are not sure about something you observed, it's always great to reach out.
Definitely. So I have two questions to both of you before we close our conversation. So we'll start, of course, with the main points you would like the public to take away in relation to child rights, particularly. Rachelle?
One of the main points we want the public to take away is that child rights are human rights, and child protection is everyone's business. Best way to support children is to acquaint yourself with the rights. Please feel free to visit the Children's Authority website. We have a lot of information on that website.
And Analisa?
I just want to remind everyone that tomorrow is Universal Children's Day, so we want to reach out to those children that are around us, our children in schools, and just let them feel loved and appreciated, because child protection is everyone's business. So it's part of enforcing those rights, also to show love towards them.
So I'll tell you what, you just answered my next question, because I was going to ask you your message for World Children's Day happening tomorrow, but that's great because we've got the message out. But we also want to know, I know one of the things that is important is ensuring that children's voices are heard during the decision-making process. How can we make that happen?
We need to have an open ear, listening to what they have to say, because it's one of their fundamental rights as well, the right to be heard.
Yes.
So it's always important that we listen to what they have to say and try to respect those views as well.
Critical as well, a key word there, respect. And Rachel, a message for Trinidad and Tobago for World Children's Day tomorrow?
Listen to the children. Listen to the children, speak to them, talk to them, find out how it is they feel, how it is their rights are being upheld. And if, again, as my colleague said, if there are any things that you need any clarifications on, please feel free to reach out to the authority.
And to clarify, your hotline is 800-2014 or 996, correct?
Yeah.
Excellent. Well, ladies, thank you for joining us this morning. It's been a pleasure to have you. I'm sure that you have a plethora of plans for tomorrow, World Children's Day, so hoping that you are able to enjoy as well. And thank you for the work that you do.
Thank you.
Thank you for having us.
Our pleasure. Children's Authority of Trinidad and Tobago senior attorneys with us in studio this morning as we get ready to observe World Children's Day happening tomorrow and happening in a few moments. Stay with us because it's time for the launch of DNA.
Not later.